Even while George may not have formally begun an affair with the Brenda, Melissa Peterman, character from The Big Bang Theory, their encounters may have contributed to George's divorce. The Big Bang Theory viewers are aware that Sheldon's father will cheat on his mother. It appeared to be the beginning of it in the Season 4 finale. When George and Brenda went out to a pub and had a few drinks together in Season 5, it was a precursor to the affair. Brenda unexpectedly proposed that they head to her house so they may have some alone time together. But this resulted in a medical emergency for George, who had to be sent to the hospital right away. Except for George and Brenda, no one else is aware of what transpired that evening. Yet their conversation sets the stage for the Coopers' marriage to fail. While driving home from the hospital in young Sheldon with Mary, George confided in her that he wasn't happy with his life. Nevertheless, he chose to downplay his emotions rather than interact, proposing that they simply forget about that entire evening. Even though George may have just been flirting with Brenda in an unsuitable way, this could be the beginning of his unavoidable adultery. Following a heated argument between George and Mary in the Season 4 final, the young Sheldon-Brenda affair was set up. His health scare cut short their almost tryst as the fight brought him to Brenda. In episode 19 of Young Sheldon, it was revealed that George does indeed have a secret. It is therefore plausible that the two are making love off-screen before Sheldon catches them. Regretfully, George's unwillingness to communicate honestly with his spouse about his thoughts will only lead to future bitterness toward his current circumstances. Prior to making his statement, he had mentioned these emotions in a previous Young Sheldon Season 4 episode. Considering this, it's reasonable to assume that he has been dealing with this for some time. All he wanted to do was avoid talking about it with his family. The spin-off show blatantly contradicts Jim Parsons' portrayal of grown-up Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory, which holds that his father was a bad man. What if his reluctance to have a meaningful conversation on this matter is the cause of his slow but steady decline? It might provide an explanation for the character differences between Young Sheldon and its parent series. Mary eventually gave up and stormed out, but Brenda found her and gave her version of events, which had nothing to do with an affair. Season 6 revealed that Sheldon's Big Bang Theory hint about a young Sheldon, Brenda, and George affair might not be the real one. This is due to an argument that Brenda and Mary had in German folk song and an actual adult, during which Mary accused Brenda of having an extramarital affair. But it was Brenda's response and their candid discussion that raised doubts about this being the case. After a disagreement, the two women let their guard down and confided in one another. This entire discussion seemed to at least tilt the young Sheldon-Brenda hypotheses in a different way. Mary and Brenda hadn't really spoken about young Sheldon since the hospital incident, and Brenda had assisted Mary in landing a position at the bowling alley. Mary eventually gave up and stormed out, but Brenda found her and gave her version of events, which had nothing to do with an affair. Brenda looked to be written off by Mary as the affair that caused Sheldon so much pain as a child because of her belief. That being said, either Brenda was lying about it to appease Mary, or there was another mistress. Sheldon is a character on The Big Bang Theory with a lot of quirks. His most famous quirk is his three-knock rule, which he developed after seeing George's affair in the Young Sheldon timeline. He has a well-known habit of knocking on someone's door 3 times while saying their name before he lets himself in. Sheldon clarified this to Penny during their talk on TV Beaky, saying that he did this because he happened to see his father having an affair. The spin-off show hasn't yet addressed this depressing aspect of Sheldon's past, but Season 5 eventually did it. Sheldon was also impacted by George's extramarital affair in terms of his perspective on marriage and his capacity for trust. Sheldon is not a trustworthy person, even though he is exceedingly naive. His life is planned according to a strict timetable. Anyone who breaks rules, such as roommate agreements, instantly loses all credibility and risks harsh penalties akin to those faced by Sheldon. His disinclination to wed Amy on The Big Bang Theory is a result of his response to George's extramarital affair. Even though the two marry, he says that his perspective on marriage has been tainted by his parents' relationship and divorce. As a result, he hesitates and wastes time delaying marriage to Amy in an attempt to defend his tenuous position. The Coopers' conversation about George's issue does not, however, imply that their marriage will ultimately be preserved. Young Sheldon's interpretation of events from The Big Bang Theory indicates that the couple's future is going to be bleak and unpleasant. In spite of this, at least, they could have attempted to mend their covertly failing relationship if George hadn't refused to revisit the events of that point in night.